Hi guys, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be reading the Shatter Me series together in 100 hours. So let's just directly get into it. So now for context, I have been given a bunch of these fashion assignments that I'm supposed to be sitting out and embroidering to do for class. And the best part about doing stuff like this is that my attention can be focused on other things too. And because my attention span's really bad, the best part about this is I can have some sort of audiobook going in the background as I work, and I can still focus on both simultaneously. So in today's vlog, I'm going to attempt to finish a bunch of these assignments of mine as I'm listening to the series, and I'm going to aim for it to be over the span of 4 days, so about 100 hours, because that would be crazy, number one. Number two, that would be a fun little series to tackle off my TBR, and that would be really great because I've been waiting to read this for so long. And number three, I have these assignments to be finished on this strict deadline, and so the faster I get them done, the faster I can finish it off, which is why here we are. That's what we're doing in today's vlog. I'm going to start working on my embroidery assignments. I'm going to start listening to the series, and I'll come update you as when I finish the books out. This is going to be a bookmas video, which is why there'll be no spoilers whatsoever, because I want it to be for everyone to enjoy. And so here we are. I am recording this intro in the future now that I have gone back and finished the series, so I can confidently say that we did finish in 100 hours. So now I'm just going to let you hop right into it and stay tuned for how the journey goes, because it's been quite a roller coaster of every single emotion. But here we are. Let's just jump right into me reading the Shatter Me series for the first time and seeing why it is the internet's beloved and why everyone's freaking obsessed with Aaron Warner with good reason. Hi guys, so it's been a couple hours. I did go ahead and start and finish the first book in the series because I was listening to the audiobook sped up as I was finishing my embroidery work. And so I'm done with the book now, which is why here I am in for the first official update of this video, because I've been looking forward to reading this series for so long that now that it's finally happening, mind is blown. But here we are. For a quick premise, in case you don't already know what this is about, despite the fact that it's taken over the internet, essentially Shatter Me follows this one dystopian world wherein everything's coming to an end. So the clouds are this weird color, everyone's falling sick and dying. The food, there isn't enough to feed the sick population in the first place, which is why they're already dying or whatever, and viruses are contaminating and spreading through the population. And then not just that, the animals, they have their own contamination, and people eat those poisoned sick animals, and then they get even sicker and they're dying. So essentially the world has come to basically the brink of collapse and collision or whatever, and now there's literally nothing left in the environment. There's no birds anymore. The population's rapidly deteriorating, and now there's this thing that happens wherein suddenly there's a group called the Re-establishment which actually takes over by promising the people that, hey, we will bring everything back under control. It's not the end for the world yet. So they are placed in the power, I guess you can call them the government. The entire world has been divided into a bunch of sectors. I believe there's 3,333, something like that. Each sector has a commanding officer, and now they kind of want to pool the resources together, group, and use them correctly. Except it isn't the best organization ever, because obviously there's flaws and fraudulent tactics and so many other things, where now they're actually corrupt. And so now you start to realize that there's more people dying because of the battle of a gun rather than food shortage. And now that's even worse for the population, because suddenly it's becoming even closer that the world's going to collapse. So we have a different group that comes into the picture now. They are the rebels. They're essentially a bunch of people who have these magical powers or whatever, and they've banded together to overthrow the Re-establishment, which now knows about them, but it's an underground movement, so there isn't much they can do about them. So now people are deciding whether they want to side with the Re-establishment, the main group in power, or the rebels. And in the midst of everything, you follow our main character Juliet. She's actually been locked in an asylum. It's been over a year since anyone touched her, because back in the day when she was younger, she is also one of the people who has magical powers. She accidentally touched a kid and murdered him or whatever, so now she's been put away for that crime, and so that she isn't exposed to more people and then harm them or whatever, even if it's accidental or if it's on purpose. But thanks to that, she feels like she's slowly losing her grip on reality. She hates the fact that her touch is so lethal that she just can't be out there like a normal person, and she's just hoping for a better world, for changes to come in so she can leave that little room she's locked up in. Except one day they throw another prisoner in there or whatever, and suddenly these two are bonding. Except as it turns out, later she's actually taken out by the Re-establishment, because they realize that instead of having her caged up like an animal, they can actually use her touch to kind of bring the scales in their favor so she can annihilate all of their enemies essentially just by touching them. And she's like an effective weapon because she's not battery operated. She doesn't have any electric power going into her. She's also really cheap to maintain, so they're using her as if she's some sort of like object, and now it's up to her whether she wants to stay under their rule and help them kind of overtake their enemies, even though technically they're the bad guys the way it's been portrayed, or she wants to run away and escape and actually be a warrior and fight against them with the rebels. And here you actually follow a quick little romance also between the other prisoner that was thrown in the asylum as well with her. He's called Adam. He's always been like a childhood friend or whatever, and so they're actually navigating what they're gonna do or whatever, because if they run away they're gonna be fugitives hunted everywhere, but if they stay it's gonna be even worse, a miserable life, and she's just gonna be used for her past, which is horrible because the way she touches people and then they die, that's traumatizing. So now she has like a decision to make, and basically that's the whole premise. I feel like personally though, I still don't get it because online everyone has been hyper fixating over Aaron Warner, and I know who he is. We were introduced to him, but he's actually one of the bad guys. So now I'm wondering if this is gonna be like a Feyre Rhys Tamlin situation from ACOTAR, because I've never read so many fantasy books before. The first time I was reading ACOTAR, I was confused with that as well, but now I'm kind of leaning towards Adam, simply because Adam is a bit of like a sick psycho, but at the same time Adam is also very bland. So right now, at least, because we were introduced to another character, I'm just here for Kenji. Hopefully he stays a good guy, because otherwise I'm gonna collapse, because he's the only character who's actually pulling this book along. It was really interesting, but I feel like it definitely slowed down and dragged out at some bits, but because I was listening to it sped up, I'm not gonna complain because I still flew through this thing. I feel like in the audiobook, one interesting thing was, I've heard in the actual physical book there's sentences and it looks like someone's like taken a pen over them and crossed them, because she's actually, the book at least, been told to be writing in her notebook her thoughts. And because when you think like an actual person, sometimes you take back some thoughts and you leave them half finished or whatever. So it's kind of like her notebook is expressing her thoughts, and because there's like pen strikes towards some thoughts that she wanted to cross out, in the audiobook there's actual pen striking noises, and I find that really interesting. But apart from that, I feel like there aren't many redeeming qualities, at least yet. It's a strong book. Definitely take it away from the first book at least, but otherwise it's okay. But to be fair, it is the first book in a series. There isn't a lot you can expect because it needs world building, it needs introduction to characters, you need to understand a good structure of plot, and I feel like it definitely followed all three of these to a T. So I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars, simply because I was bored at some bits, I'm not even gonna lie. But she, in a good way, reminds me of Feyre from the second book of ACOTAR, and that's like my favorite ever. So hopefully when I continue the series now and, you know, things may pick up, I might actually like this and it'll go in my top series ever, because I am having a good time. It's just it's a little slow, and I want things to pick up, actually stuff to happen, because nothing was really happening until towards the end just now. And now it ends on a cliffhanger, so I definitely want to see where it goes. And I'm just going to continue my embroidering, continue reading, and that's about it. I can't really show you my embroidering because it's actually in my room and my sister's fallen asleep there, which is why I came here to record, and I didn't want to pick up all my shit, so I'll have it as b-roll in the midst of all these clips or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna go get back to it. I still have a bunch of assignments to finish, so hopefully this series will be enough as I'm listening and doing my assignments. But on to the next book now. Hopefully things do get better, and hopefully Kenji, we get more screen time of him, because don't get me wrong, Adam is fine right now. I don't have such strong feelings. He's just like a very dull character. Aaron Warner, he's a little sick in the head, so here we are. I was just disappointed with the Twisted series last week, so maybe he's gonna disappoint me as well, because Book Talk holds him on such a high pedestal, and right now at least I don't really believe Book Talk. So maybe Kenji will be the saving grace, who knows. But I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go continue listening, and I'll see you guys hopefully in a little bit with more updates when I finish the next book out. Hi guys, so it's now the next day, many hours later, because I did stay up till about 5 in the morning yesterday listening to my audiobooks, getting some work done, and I have made quite some progress on this so far, but it's not nearly complete, and it's kind of starting to hurt me a little bit because this is taking so long and I'm dying throughout the process. But I'm hoping that if I stay again later up until tonight or whatever, we'll be able to get this done. So I'll be listening to my books as I do that, but this is the progress update I wanted to show you. And now to update about the books basically. basically. Last time I came in to say I finished the first book in the series and I was gonna start the second, but looking on Goodreads, I actually realized that there was like a novella you're supposed to read in the middle. I think it's called Destroy Me. I'm a little confused, but essentially this is set between the events of the first and second book, and everyone on Goodreads said that would be good, at least for the story basis or whatever, to kind of read it and just get through with it. And it wasn't very long, so I figured might as well do that. I finished in no time. Basically, it's like Warner's perspective on the events of the first book and some events that kind of move in and take up like the first half of the second book. And it's not a lot, but it definitely shows you his side of things or whatever, because in the first book he comes across extremely intense and you're wondering what the hell is wrong with this guy. I literally called him a psycho. But then once you read this and you start to truly understand his perspective, he's got questionable morals, don't get me wrong, it doesn't justify anything, but it definitely gives you a basis for it to understand where he's coming from. And it's kind of sad, but it was a good novella to read. I feel like it's very interesting and it definitely helped for the story, at least, to kind of understand him as a character. And so I think it was very important in the main timeline of events, which is why I'm happy I read it. I think I'm gonna give it like 3.5 stars. Again, nothing great, nothing fancy, but it was good regardless to get like backstory and perspective, and then start to slowly understand why he's fallen for Juliet. And every time he goes, oh, I'm so in love with her, because it was coming from nowhere in the first book and it felt a lot like he was going too heavy-handed. But here you actually see how it's sort of like trauma bonding, and you know, it's kind of sad, but again, it does make sense and it definitely adds meaning to that. Next up, I ended up reading the second official book in the series, which was actually supposed to come in, but then I read the novella. This one's called Unravel Me. I just finished this evening, and I would have come in to update, but I was too invested in my work, so I figured I'd just continue. But essentially, this one takes place following Juliet again, her perspective, except you know how I told you in Shatter Me she was supposed to pick between whether she wants to go work for the re-establishment or the rebels. Here she's kind of made her choice, and you will slowly watch her kind of just live out her day-to-day activities in the group that she's chosen. But alongside that and along with that, she's also preparing for war, because it's, you know, coming slowly but surely. And she's also starting to try to understand what's the source, the causes, whatever behind her power, kind of trying to figure all of that out, because if she's supposed to fight in war, she needs to know what she can do and how she can perform with her set of like magic or whatever, and she's trying to understand that. But then again, I feel like this book, I think the whole series so far, I was expecting more politics, and it's definitely being overshadowed by the romance, because you've got like a really weird love triangle situation between Juliet, who is basically a broken doll. I'm so sorry, it does come with the grief and trauma, but yeah, she's very much giving Feyre in the second book of Akamov, except done in a really bad way. And then there's Adam, who's just like a basic bland cardboard character, nothing too strong about him. And on the other hand, we have Warner, who is coming in a little too intense and overdone. And so I feel like there's no like good balance between this group, and because of that, it's taking over the entire series, because rather than giving you more politics and understanding the world building and more behind Juliet's past, I feel like the focus is more on the three of them and this weird like situation they find themselves in. And there's nothing wrong with that. For me personally, it's not working, because I don't see any chemistry between any of them, and I'm just waiting for it to be done with. So that was happening. This book, I feel like the first half was definitely very slow and boring, and it just wasn't getting through with, but then the second half made up for it, because things actually started to happen. And at that point, I was convinced that maybe I might not like the series, but it's still gonna be fine to continue reading, because it was truly bad the first half. It genuinely felt like it was stagnating. But then now, coming after that or whatever, the second half, it kind of goes into the war situation and what happens with that, and that's basically where the story ends. Again, it's nothing great. I feel like it's definitely one of the first books in like a bigger fantasy series, so you can't really expect a lot, but I feel like the romance focus is definitely, you know, leaning towards that, and I wish it wasn't that way, because I don't know why. I don't understand what's wrong with me, why these classic book talk series just aren't hitting anymore for me, because last week I read Twisted, hated that. Now I'm reading this one, it's just not working for me. So I'm wondering if I'm the problem, because so many people online love this and I just don't see the hype behind it. I don't understand if we're all reading the same book, because again, there's nothing wrong with it, but for me personally, I'm just bored out of my mind as I'm listening to them. And there's nothing wrong with them, don't get me wrong. Maybe I'm just the problem here, because I'm waiting for stuff to happen. I'm waiting for it to be like the earth-shattering stuff that has been described to be, and maybe it's my fault for hyping it up in my head or whatever, but I would have expected so much better from it, and I'm just not getting it. the romance, especially between like Warner and Juliet, falling flat for me. Adam, I don't really like him, I just can't pin it. And then here we are right now. I definitely do wish we had more about the world and stuff, because it's very interesting the way it's set up, and I would love to explore more of that if we got it, but we aren't. So here we are. Kenji is definitely still carrying this book though, and here we are literally just continuing the series for that one man. So I'm gonna give this like another like 3.5 stars. Very mid and conflicted about my opinion on this, but at the same time I feel indifferent. So here we are. After this there was another novella, I think it's called Fracture Me, and I figured, listen, I had a good time with the previous novella despite everything, so I figured might as well just pick this up and read all the novellas I come across in the series as well, because I do want to understand the characters and where they're coming from, what's going on with that. And so I picked this one up hoping it would be Warner's perspective again. It was Adam, and I don't like him to begin with, but I feel like this book, it kind of shows you Adam's perspective throughout the war that's happening at the end of the second book, and then a little beyond that in the after effects and the consequences. And there's nothing wrong with that, but his specific perspective, the way he looks at things and describes things and, you know, things and talks about Juliet, I'm sorry, but I was like so disgusted the entire time I was reading it. I genuinely didn't enjoy this. I didn't like his perspective, and because of this book and having finished it, I'm now swaying more in the favor of Warner than Adam. I feel like this whole thing's just gonna continue throughout the series. I don't know when we'll get like a conclusion to it, but it's definitely very much giving belly from the Some I Turn Pretty, except Juliet is more cardboardy and toxic. So here we are. I'm sorry, I just don't understand why a 17-year-old has to pick between these two guys and have romance blossoming in so fast and so soon, when she can just be on her own and survive on her own and just fight the war and do whatever else. Because I feel like there's a little too much weight thrown on the romance, and then considering the fact that it's supposed to be a YA series, the romance can't go anywhere apart from like kissing or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I feel like it's just not working in the favor of the series. But yeah, this book specifically, again, I didn't have the best time. I am happy though that we did get to see some characters throughout it, Kenji being my number 1 and James being my number 2. These are no spoilers or whatever, but those are the only perspectives I'm living for at the moment, so hopefully they get their own novellas at some point, because otherwise I don't understand why I'm still reading. But regardless, things definitely happened in this book, and by the end of it you actually reach like a stage wherein now you have to start the next book in the series, because it kind of ends off at this like standpoint or whatever. Does that make sense? It's like a cliffhanger, but then if you've read the previous book, the full length one, the cliffhanger's kind of resolved, but it's like 50-50, half and half, and you want to see where things continue. And at this point I'm invested to see where this goes. It's just I'm not enjoying it. So I'm not going to call it a hate read, because I don't hate it completely. I am enjoying the writing style. I love the like journal entry kind of phases, because it genuinely feels like you're looking into her thoughts, into her mind, stuff she's, you know, scrapping out or whatever in her book, but then the way she's thinking. And the story style is very metaphorical in the sense that the writing is beautiful, loving it so much, but I just don't know if it's working for the series, because for some reason I'm still bored out of my mind. I'm waiting for things to happen and nothing really seems like it. So maybe things will get better, I'm crossing my fingers. But this one specifically, again, I don't know what I want to rate it, because I literally just finished like an hour ago, and so I'm very unsure, which is why I'll put my final rating once I'm editing or whatever, somewhere between 2 and 3 stars, because I simply hate Adam at this point. Just the way he thinks about Juliet makes me want to go towards Warner, even though he's the only other option and he's kind of subpar as well. So here we are. Do not come after me, internet. After that I started the next book in the series called Ignite Me, and this is like collectively the world's favorite book out of the entire series. So already I'm like high on my hopes with this one and praying this will be the saving grace of the series. So far, the little bit that I have started, because I haven't finished yet, you are kind of following Juliet's perspective again, except something happens in the previous book, in the previous full-length book about the war and stuff, and she nearly loses her life, and here you actually watch her kind of have her life saved by the last person she'd expect. And so she starts an alliance with that person and her own group of friends, and slowly they're gonna restart war again. The way it ended last time wasn't very favorable, and they still want to tip the scales of justice in their favor and kind of control the world as they see fit, because the way it's going right now, it's tyrannical, and she just doesn't see how it's correct right now. So now she's starting to build up her forces again, and you also get to watch the after effects of war, how people are suffering. Nothing wrong with that, but this one also specifically gives you like a, I guess, chapter 54 version of Akamov, wherein you're understanding Warner's side of things and how he never meant anything wrong for Juliet. And so it's kind of great because I don't hate him exactly anymore. The things that I said that he was sick to make her do in the first book, they are justified in this one, but at the same time I still don't see the internet's obsession with him, because I feel like their romance is always just been insta love and love from first sight or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not working for me. So I'm hoping things get better, but it is looking up to be really good right now, because you are getting a lot more found family, which I'm really enjoying with the whole group that they're building up and stuff. And now that you have gotten Warner's perspective, I don't hate him as much. I'm hating Adam right now, so scales have been flipped. We shall see how it goes, but yeah, here we are. One thing was revealed in the previous full-length book that I never saw coming. It was like the biggest plot twist ever, and now that they're building up the group, you kind of have to see how the plot twist affects these situations. Again, I don't want to go deep into it because I don't want to spoil the series for anyone who's not read it, but if you have, that one thing between all of them that kind of made damage the dynamic of the series or whatever, that's what's going on right now, and I'm trying to figure that out. So here we are. We'll see how it goes, but so far this is infinitely better than all the previous books in the series, and so I'm hoping it'll continue the same way and the series will go like that, because otherwise I genuinely feel like I'm wasting my time on it. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just not my cup of tea, and that makes me so sad, because I've been looking forward to reading this ever since I got into reading again a couple years ago, and so it kind of breaks my heart. But at the same time, if this book saves the series for me, I'll be so grateful. So we'll see where it goes off from right now. I stopped off at one of the chapters or whatever, because now I want to have a break, have my dinner or whatever, but once I get back and I stay up and pull half an all-nighter, hopefully I'll be done with this one and another one tonight. We shall see. But regardless, here we are, hoping and praying for more Kenji, because that's the only character I want to see in the series. Honestly, if you made this the Kenji Chronicles and gave me only his perspective throughout, even if nothing was happening, this man would make it entertaining somehow, because he's like golden retriever, and so I'd be happy to see that. But here we are. One thing I did find funny though is that Warner, he's mentioned to be 5'9" and blonde, and that's so weird, because in my head I pictured him to be so many different things, just not that, and so I'm a little confused. This is why I don't like picturing things in fantasy books, especially because once I start and then it doesn't shape up to be what I pictured, it kind of doesn't work for me, because now I'm so confused with what I pictured and what's actually going on. And Warner's blonde and he's like a couple inches taller than me, and that's so weird. But here we are. We'll get back to it now, and hopefully things do pick up, because now I really want some more action and fantasy. That's the elements that I'm truly enjoying, and the found family and Kenji. But yeah, hopefully things get better. Hopefully this is the way it continues, and I'm gonna go continue reading, but we've reached halfway at this point in the series, so that's a little weird to me. Still trying to consort with that, but yeah, we'll see how I like this book once I get through with it. It's already better than the rest, so hopefully it continues that way. And now I'm gonna go. Bye. Hi guys, so it's now the next night. I have managed to go on such like a Shatter Me binging spree, wherein I went to bed yesterday at 4 after having finished one of the books in the series, started the next one, woke up so early today, and all I've done since morning is literally just lock in, work on my embroidering, my stitching, and just continue listening, to the point where I managed to finish 4 books back to back. And by 4, I don't mean 4 full length, I mean 4 like as in 2 full length and 2 novellas, so it doesn't like add up to a lot, but at the same time, that's still huge for me, because I've never locked in this hard on a series. And now I take back every awful thing I ever said about it, because I'm sorry, Warner and Juliet, in my head they're soulmates, they're perfect for each other. It does make sense when the explanations come. Every bad thing I said about the series being mid and absolutely, shitty as well, I'm sorry, the internet was correct. I don't know why I lost faith, because now this is looking up to be, I think, like the second best series I've ever read in my life. I will probably give everything in it 5-star going back. So here we are. First, let's break that down and discuss. But before anything, I managed to finish this flower pot thing that I was making. I think it's turned out alright. I don't really like the color scheme on it, but at the same time, it's not like I can go change it, and I'm running low on time to finish the other assignments. So even if I could, like, cut the whole thing and restart, I don't have it in me right now, so I'm just gonna submit this as my final piece. But yeah, it looks a little weird, but I mean, whatever. Next up, I started the next assignment. This is called the buttonhole stitch. It's taken me so long to learn. I wish I was joking. I was practicing and then going back and forth, and I ruined it the first time around. But it's coming through slowly but surely. It's like a flower, and working on the other one. Hopefully I'll get this done by tonight, because it isn't like a complex pattern. It's just a stitch that's really giving me an issue. But before all of that overtakes me, I'm going to continue working on this as I listen to my books. But for the books I've already managed to finish. Yesterday I was updating you on Ignite Me, and I managed to finish that, I think, around 3 o'clock I updated and then I started the next book and then went to bed at 4. Last night, this morning, whatever you want to call it. Basically, I know this is like the world's favorite book in the series because it finally gives you Warner's perspective of things, even though it's told like from Juliet's side or whatever. So you start to understand everything about him and the justifications, and it doesn't really validate him, but it makes you understand him as a character and you feel sympathy for everything he's gone through. And I feel like it definitely was a turning point in the series because up until this point I hated everyone, but this actually turned me in the right direction. And upon finishing this is actually the end of the original trilogy. So the books after this, they are like an added series sort of. Most people stop reading at this point, but at this point, listen, I just wanted to see it through, so I figured I'd continue. But for this one specifically, I gave it 4 stars. I really had a good time with this. It actually does end up following the war in the story again. At this point, I've read so many books back to back that it's mushed into one big book in my head, which is why I can't really tell you which war it was because there's been so many at this point. But war does happen. At the end of it, you actually get to see who comes out victorious, which side, and you get a somewhat, I guess, conclusive enough ending. There are many questions that are left unanswered, which is why I think it's a good idea to continue reading the series if you haven't already, because the way it's going right now, stop. I love it so much than the original trilogy, but this is like a good point, I think, in the series that you can stop if you want to, because you do get like a good conclusion. It's just for me personally, I wanted more, so here we are. You definitely do get to see like a lot of found family in this one specifically, and that's like my favorite trope of all time, especially in fantasy. So listen, I loved watching that happen, and truly there were such heartwarming moments in the middle of war wherein it was 3 in the morning, I was listening to this, doing my little embroidering stuff and trying not to cry. I don't know how, because I didn't even feel like these characters affected me much, but apparently they have a chokehold on me because now every time they experience some sort of emotion, I'm holding back tears. I'm too far deep in, but here we are. I finished this one out. After this, I believe it's called Restore Me, the next book, and it kind of follows the aftermath of the war, so kind of like consequences and new, I guess, dynamics and like what positions of power each specific person has got, and it kind of goes from there. Except this one actually follows alliances and betrayals and friendship, and there's this one huge thing that happens at the very end that suddenly I knew I just had to spend my evening binging the rest of the series. I think this is a really good one, and it's very strong as a continuation of the series because, again, this is where I think I truly started falling in love with the characters. Kenji, him for me from day one was always it, but then the rest of them, I feel like this is the turning point in the book, in the series or whatever, that I actually started enjoying what was going on and getting truly invested, and I had the best time ever. The very ending, I was so shook, my jaw was on the floor. I don't even know what to say. I'm still reeling from that because the way things have come back up, I'm sorry, the author, how long was she planning the series for bombshells like that to drop? And truly, you just have to wait. This is a series wherein you have to understand as a slow burn, trust in the process, because once it hits the good bits, I'm sorry, it's just like knockouts back to back. You're gonna be so amazed. This one specifically, I don't know yet what I want to rate it because in my head it's 5 stars, but at the same time, I just finished this evening every single book I've read after at this point. Listen, it's mushed into one big fat pile in my head that at this point I can't really distinguish in the stories, so I need a few minutes to sit down and kind of process my thoughts and not jump to immediate conclusions because I just finished it. So I'm not sure if it's 5 star, but I'll put my final rating on screen once I'm editing or whatever, once I have my final thoughts gathered. But right now, at least, that book is perfect to me. I loved every second. I don't even know what else to say, but yeah, I had such a good time. After this, I think it's called Shatter Me. It's like a novella that comes in and you get Kenji's perspective. Again, this is my official petition for the author to start a whole complete new different series called Kenji Chronicles, wherein you just get his perspective throughout the novellas, because he is like the comedian of the group. He is the golden retriever, but actually understanding his perspective, you understand that the comedy is kind of like a defense mechanism against all the darkness, because he too has suffered so much in his life, especially right from the beginning once you learn his backstory. It's, heartbreaking, but then this one specifically, you get his backstory on events and you kind of get his perspective on what's going on towards the end of the previous book and then what happens a little bit after. And I feel like it's very important to get different characters because it kind of helps you understand the friend group, understand the found family. And this one specifically, listen, I was just waiting for a Kenji book, so this is all I needed. Again, this in my head is 5 stars because of Kenji, but I'm gonna have to hold off for a little bit because I again want to finalize my rating. In the previous full-length book though, there were a bunch of new characters introduced, and in this one specifically, because you're in Kenji's perspective, you actually think that there's someone introduced here, or at least I think that could be his soulmate because they're literally perfect for each other, a new romantic interest. So I'm hoping that sparks off, because even right now you're getting this like dragged out slow burn tension between the two of them, enjoying every second. And so hopefully it'll come to fruition. If you've read the books, you know what I'm talking about, and so I don't have to make a fool of myself. But if you haven't, I'm just praying these two characters, Kenji and that other person, get together, because they would be iconic. In my head they are, and even if they don't in the series, in my head they get together, so it's all right. But this one, again, I'll keep my final rating on screen. Moving on to the next full-length book I guess I finished. It's called Defy Me. Basically in the last full-length book, because these full-lengths, they're following like Juliet's POV, but you're also getting like Aaron Warner, because now he's Aaron, and you're also getting like Kenji in these, but mainly Juliet. Once you're getting her perspective at the very end of the previous full-length book, I think it was what, Restore Me? That great betrayal thing that happened after the war. I'm just gonna say that because of that betrayal, everyone in the group kind of gets scattered all over the place, and they've lost touch and connection, and suddenly there's like a lot of other nefarious things happening because the main villains or whatever are emerging in the story. Stakes are increasing to an all-time high, and suddenly it's kind of terrifying because these kids, they're 17, they're younger than me, and they're fighting like world forces and trying to change the world for the better. And it's a great lofty goal, but at the same time, once you realize the villains that come into picture, especially in this book, and the backstory, you understand that the author's been planning this since book 1, and it took all this time to get here, worth every second. But now there's a lot of consequences to deal with, because everything that's happened in the book is not accidental fallen into their laps. It's been happening since day 1, and once you realize the history behind all of it, I'm sorry, it's gonna blow your mind. I'm still reeling, and this is the book where I truly realized, thanks to a bunch of explanation and backstories and foreshadowing or whatever, Warner and Juliet, truly they're soulmates. She does have a different name at this point, but I can't tell you that because it will be a huge spoiler. So just gonna keep using Juliet. Basically the two of them, they are meant to love each other in every lifetime. That's all I'm gonna say. This was also heartbreaking because you get to see the characters' perspectives obviously, but you also get to, I guess, watch them endure trauma as it's happening in real time. And I'm just gonna say it, I was crying. I actually lost it at this point, tears falling down my face. I'm trying to hold it back because I never thought these characters had such like a strong hold on me, but apparently they did. So this is the book where I truly lost it. Again, in my head this is 5 stars, but I'm gonna give it a little bit to settle down. But here we are. Also at the very end of it, again, something happens, hope is brought back into the world, and there's like other things to deal with, so that's where it ends off. And then right now, I currently just started the next little novella in the series before I figured I'd update and then go for dinner. And this one again is in my bestie Kenji's POV. So happy. You're getting that dragged out slow burn romance. You're getting to watch his traumas and his, I guess, darkness, because you always watch him as this like light, happy person in front of everyone else, trying to maintain the balance of the group, where really he's suffering from inside, trying to maintain that dynamic. And so I guess watching his perspective rounds him out as a character, and you know, I'm feeling for him. It hurts, but at the same time, that's happening in the story right now. Something was introduced to the plot, and I'm just gonna say it, every single turn this is taking at this point, it's truly blowing my mind. I understand why everyone's obsessed with it. I am so sorry. This is my official apology for being mean about it, because truly, turns things have taken right now, I'm shook. I want to see where it goes next. I'm already theorizing in my head, but because I want to go have dinner now because I'm hungry, I have to wait for like at least an hour or so before I can get back and continue, I guess, listening and see where things head. But right now I'm really stressed. My anxiety levels are at like an all-time high because I just want these people to be alive and happy. So here we are, crossing my fingers it continues that way, but so far I'm really enjoying this one. Gonna be another 5-star book, I don't even care. But now I'm gonna go have dinner and then get back to reading in a bit. One thing I will say though is these books, they have such like heavy sad moments, but then there's enough heartwarming moments sprinkled in or whatever that you get to see the hope. And I feel like the true dystopian world is getting exposed, wherein now, you know how I complained in the original series that there was too much romance, this one you're getting more like politics and world building, and then the romance is like a slower side, slow kind of long dragged out situation. And truly I'm enjoying the turns things have taken. So here we are, I'm so happy with it right now, especially the previous full-length book. I know I'm confusing you guys when I keep swapping back and forth, but Defy Me, the note it ends off on, it's so sad to me because there's this one thing that's been repeated, one character, their childhood memory, something happens or whatever, and they're trying to rewrite that memory for that person. And it's so sad to me because the first time I heard it, I truly I don't know, it kind of broke me. But then now, once you get more backstory on the character and you get to see the things that are happening, it hurts, but at the same time it's so sweet. And this is why Found Family will always be at my number one. And yeah, I'm having the best time with the series. Hopefully it won't break my heart too much, because at this point I don't know how much I can tolerate. But yeah, I want more of those moments, because truly, why was I crying at a happy moment? I don't know, but here we are. Tomorrow I won't be home most of the day, which is why I'm hoping I can at least get done with the novella tonight and start the next full-length book in the series, because I have this novella, I have one full-length and one last, I guess, epilogue kind of novella left, and I'm done with the series. And I know I'll finish this novella. I don't know what it's called, but it's called like a purple cover tonight. I can probably even finish half of the next book. And the thing is, I want to so desperately just cancel my plans and finish the series out tomorrow before I go. But that's also kind of like a situation that is running on deadlines, and I have to do it no matter what, which is why I don't know when I'll see you all next. But maybe by the time I do, I'll be done with the series at that point and we can finally come into debrief. But yeah, I'm a little scared for that right now. So that's it. This series is perfect to me, except the covers. Why are there all these like creepy eyes on it? I don't understand. Even the titles, when I'm reading the books, it doesn't really make sense to me until a couple books later when you kind of allude to the title. But regardless, here we are. I'm gonna go now. The series is perfect regardless. It's gonna be like 5-star series for me, but I don't know when I'll finish. So hopefully tonight, but if I don't, I'll get back home tomorrow after my work is complete or whatever, and then I'll get it done with, and then I'll speak to you guys about it. But right now I'm a little worried, so crossing my fingers and praying so hard everything turns out well, because I just need these people to be happy, okay? They literally feel like family right now. Okay, and now we've reached the end of the vlog, because I never came in to update after that. I did go ahead and finish the series. So I went out that day or whatever, finished all my work that I needed to do for college. Again, that was running on a deadline. But then as soon as I got back, I worked on finishing out the novella. I think it was the purple one. I keep forgetting the name of it. Reveal Me or something. I finished it out the same night when I came in and updated. But then the book after that, so it was the gray one. I think it's called Imagine Me, something like that. I finished that off the next day after I came back from running errands the entire day. And then the last little novella, I stayed up to finish it off, which is Believe Me, I believe. So here we are to update you on the purple book. I'm sorry, it's just the purple book in my head at this point. I do believe it was supposed to be the last like official novella of the series. It follows Kenji, and you kind of get to watch how he's such like a golden retriever character, but behind it all is just like a facade for everything else, because he needs to be the one who helps the group kind of cope with all the harder things that they're going through, and in the midst of everything else, he himself is suffering, and this was a glimpse into that. Not just that, this also very well sets up for the very last final book in the series, because it's a full-length one, and so there's like a bunch of other things introduced to plot. You suddenly realize that the time clock is running out on specific things happening in the world. The world is also on the brink of like an actual end, because at the very beginning it is on the brink of collapse, but here it's like you can actually see that end coming, and so it's happening. And then not just that, there's like a bunch of other factors that are, I guess, countered in or whatever, adding to it, kind of increasing the stakes for the final book, because I feel like there's a lot that's supposed to go down in it, and so I feel like this was definitely the perfect novella to set up for it. Looking back though, because it has been about a month since I finished the series, I am gonna give all the novellas in the series, I'm sorry, not 5 stars, but the highest ones I'll rate is 4, because they're still novellas, and while I did connect, I would appreciate a full-length Kenji book any day. And so maybe one day, if that ever comes out, that'll definitely be 5 stars, but for now, because I just wanted more Kenji content, that's the only reason I'm giving this 4, and it was a good one to get along to reading. Like, if you are reading the series, definitely do consider reading the novellas in the middle as well, because they definitely add so much more context and they make the story so much more fun, and you get extra content, so why would you not do it? But definitely read it as you're going along with the series in the correct order, whatever it is on Goodreads, because it just adds to the experience. And so here we are. Now onto the final book. I believe this was called Imagine Me or something like that. I'm not sure. It's the grey one with the eye, though all of them technically have an eye on it. This is the final full-length book in the series, and here you kind of watch Juliet kind of grapple with stuff that's gone down in the past, stuff that's coming back to haunt her from the past. So you're trying to understand what actually went down and then why it's coming back again. And then present timeline, when past like old enemies resurface to rehash things from the past. This will make no sense if you haven't read it, but that's the whole point, because I don't want to spoil it for you. But here we are regardless. If you have read it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because this is where I feel like the whole build up in the second half of the series, so the continuation, comes to a head because you finally get like all these answers you've been waiting for since the very beginning of the series. The world building finally comes to make sense because there's like so many things that are happening and they actually start to click into place, and it was really satisfying watching that. But it was also satisfying watching like the very end and some people getting conquered over, some people getting to finally get out, and it's very interesting. I don't want to spoil it, but it was a great book overall. Definitely is on the longer side, which is why it kind of scares me to know that I finished this over the span of I think like a day or something like that, considering the fact that I still had errands to run, which just goes to say that that's my hyperfixation and obsession with it, which is why I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Sorry, I cannot help it. All the full length ones at this point, if I ever go back, maybe not the beginning ones, but the ones in the later half, they're definitely 5 stars because they were so good. But here we are. This was a great one. I couldn't put it down overall. I had such a fun time with the characters in the series, and by the very end of it, I wish I was joking. I was literally sobbing, realizing that this is the end of their journey here. And so the way I was invested over the span of this 100 hours, it came to an end. That's about it for me, and that's where we come to a close with this one specifically. Luckily though, I do believe one last extra novella, so it wasn't supposed to be released originally or something, but then it came out on the 10th anniversary of Shatter Me, and this is called Believe Me. It's essentially the marriage book, so like Warner and Juliet, it's kind of like an extension to their happy ending or whatever, but as they're sitting down, they want to get married or whatever, there's all these like obstacles that are coming in the way that they need to tackle. And not just that, I feel like even the future of the re-establishment and everything that has to come with it is discussed, because you have to keep in mind it's the end of the series. It kind of does want to set up for a new world, which is why the new series has been started. But then not just that, it also addresses certain questions that would probably come up after you read the very last like full length book, because it is the very end of like the final war. Everything comes to a close, and so you want to see where the world ends up afterward. I definitely do wish we had more of this, because number one, characters, loved them, wanted more of them, and number two, I still have a couple questions that I want answered, but I feel like that will come to it when I get to the new spin-off series that's been coming out, I think this year or whatever, last year, something like that. So I'm excited. I will get to those soon, but until then I just want to take some time to process and recover from what I've read, because I think about these very often, and I'm so happy I read the series overall. This one I think I'm gonna give like 4.5 stars, fully convinced that Aaron, Warner and Juliet are supposed to be like soulmates in every lifetime, because the way the story has been intertwined into this like magical telling, and the way it's brought to you, especially in the last couple of books, and the way everything finally starts to make sense from the very beginning, why he was so intense and all these other things. I'm sorry, I love them so much. I love that trope so much. I'm now looking for that specific micro trope in every fantasy book I'm reading, and this has definitely thrown me on like a fantasy kick too. So it was a perfect book to read. 4.5 stars, something like that. I don't really know, I'll have it on screen, but yeah, this is where I finished my Shatter Me journey, at least for the official series. I will say, looking back, I'm definitely a bigger fan of the second half of the series than the first, because comparatively online, people are obsessed with the first half, but then they don't really like the continuation. So the original books, people love them, but the continuation, I've been seeing it get like a lot of slander on the internet, but for me personally, I feel like it's reversed, because the original, it does make sense, but the way things go in the second half, and they just come together, and there's so many added things, and I feel like now that the romance has finally been settled by the first half of the series, the focus finally flips onto politics, and you know, things start to make sense, and there's no like teen silly stuff going on. That's when my attention got hooked, and I feel like Ignite Me was a really important turning point in the series. But going forward from that is when truly I got invested, and I had such a great time reading. So here we are. At this point, I'm telling everyone I know to go ahead and pick this up and read it as well. So that's a good sign that it's a great series. But overall, I finished it, and looking back, it's definitely a 5-star series that, listen, I'm obsessed with. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be rereading this though one day, because it's definitely longer, and because the first half is not my favorite. So looking back, I will have to go through the entire first half, slog my way, probably hating it, and then get to the better second half bits. But again, it's worth it, so maybe I won't discount it. Maybe one day I will do it, but that's definitely an idea. Going back though, I'm not really sure if I want physical copies anymore, because I feel like already I'm running low on bookshelf space, and considering the fact that I've already finished the series and I'm a little unsure as to whether I'm rereading or not, I feel like it's gonna be something I'll just look forward to one day in the future. Maybe one day when I'm moving out and I have a place of my own or whatever, with more space for books, because right now I'm living with my parents and I don't have a lot. So here we are. But basically, I'm not buying the series yet, at least. I'm gonna hold off, I'm thinking. But until then, regardless, it's not like a bad sign. It's just me looking forward to one day in the future getting the chance to experience these books again, because they definitely brought back the middle school dystopian nostalgic vibes that I really wanted. And so it was a good old time. I'm so happy I read it. Definitely gave me the vibes of sitting up late past bedtime under the covers or whatever, reading with a flashlight. Your parents are telling you to please cut it out and get back into bed because you have school the next day, but you still secretly want to read. Those are the vibes, and it was perfect in every sense. I really enjoyed the whole world and the politics and everything else that came with it, but definitely in the second half more, because the way things are further enhanced and you just go so much deeper into it was really fun. And then Warner and Juliet and all the other things going on with Kenji in the background and his romance and everything else in the found family, I feel like it was just a perfect series tied together with a bow. Definitely a couple loopholes here and there that I want to go and now understand through the next continuation books, but listen, I can't wait to read the spin-off, and that's already a good sign that I'm so invested that I just want more of these characters and I'll get what I can get. So here we are. I'm so happy I read the series. It definitely ends up on a great point, but I want to see where it goes. So we will read the next series at some point one day. But until then, we have now reached the end of this vlog. I definitely wanted to start Bookmas with a bang, which is why I figured I'd pick this series to kind of be the first vlog for Bookmas, which is why here we are. It is on the longer side, and the next few vlogs you'll be getting from me are not going to be this long, which is why, sorry, that's just going to be a gift for day one. But until then, I'm so happy I read this with y'all. So happy we did this for Bookmas this year finally. And maybe in a couple years time, once the spin-off is over, whatever the series, then we'll lock in and read the entire thing for a Bookmas down the years or whatever. Until then, I'm hoping you guys enjoyed coming along with me for this video specifically. If you did, like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube things, you know how to do them. And maybe one day when I go back on it, I will annotate and stuff, so we have more of my discussions to make. Maybe I'll do a full spoilers vlog for all the people who want to know my full in-depth thoughts for every single thing that happened. Until then, I wanted to be having the first video at least for Bookmas to be accessible for everyone, which is why it's non-spoiler. So here we are regardless. And yeah, we finished this journey. It feels so incredible and wild to say, because I don't know, I just feel sad. Honestly, I kind of miss the characters, but here we are regardless. This is now the end of the video. I'll see you now again for Bookmas. This is going to be our daily routine for the month of December. But until then, take care, stay safe. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and stay tuned because Bookmas is going to be so much fun this year. I have so much planned, and so you're not going to want to miss that. But that's it. I'll see you guys, and bye.